Reclaiming Timeless Ways. Mike Traster, Simon Fuller, glad to have you along with us for another ride.
Little things.
The little things.
The little things.
The little things that add up. Seems so cliche, so obvious, so easy, but isn't.
Right.
Let's jump into this, Mike, and see what little things you've been thinking about.
Okay. Well, it's spring, so I'm watching the buds come out on the all my lilac bushes. I've got maybe,
You're a big lilac guy.
I planted them originally to keep this old witch next door to me away from me, and she was
There's Mike and his honesty. We talked about this in the last episode.
She was nasty, and eventually these little tiny shoots that were volunteers off my one ugly old lilac in the back grew, and they're like 7-8 feet tall and about 4 or 5 feet thick, and I planted maybe 200. There's probably 1,000 or more because they make their own volunteers.
And I love lilacs. The smell of lilacs, I don't know, there's very few smells better,
It's a nice
in my opinion.
smell. Yeah.
But anyway, the little things, you're watching the lilacs buds. I'm
I'm
sorry.
watching the buds, and all of a sudden I'm realizing this is something that makes me happy.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. It makes me happy. And every year they knit together probably 10 or 20% better. And it's 80 on 3 sides. It's 80% complete. And on the 4th side, I just planted them last year to create more boundary.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful thing for me to see it. Or I'm looking at that tree out there that's completely bare, and I'm thinking, I hope it's alive.
Yeah.
And if it is, it's going to be another beautiful tree. So that's a little thing, right? Shelter, food, and love for a lost animal
Yeah.
in peril, right? You find a dog wandering around. The dog is innocent. He's stupid in the sense of being clever in the world.
Right,
He doesn't
right.
have access to resources.
Right.
Maybe it's a hot day and there's no water, and he could be dead in 24 hours from dehydration.
Right.
So you get him, you take him out of the, coax him over, because if you chase him, he's going to run away and get hit by a car when you're trying to help him.
Right.
So you gently coax him over, and you maybe put him on a leash, give him some food and water, maybe wash him, and then try to find his owner.
Yeah.
That's a little thing, but it's...
Mike, by the way, off the screen, you can't see it, it's out of the frame. There's 4 cans of Star-Kissed chunk-like tuna, and every time Mike comes to do another round of recordings, he's good at the little things, so I'm going to put you on the spot there a little bit and let you know that we appreciate it, because he'll be humble like that guy in an earlier episode that doesn't want the accolades, but he thinks about that. And Mike is not an over lover of cats, but my wife is, and he knows this, and we rescued those cats. So as you're telling me this story, I'm thinking, oh, there's my wife with cats.
Right.
And he always gets us little somethings for the critters that come through our life, that we save, rescue, and then rehome, etc. And Mike participates. So, and you know what? That's 4 cans of tuna. It's very appreciated, and because he didn't have to do it. And that's what kind of makes up a little thing in many respects. It's an unexpected. Wow, you didn't have to.
It adds up, hopefully, and it's like, so maybe you have 20 cans instead of 0 over 4 months or whatever, and it doesn't really put a dent in me, but it's, and then the other thing is, if you have stores, if things go crazy, like a bad supply chain intentionally created by the government to make us all broke and the slaves of the banks, because that's the reasoning behind it. Now you've got a buffer.
Yeah.
And the animals have one too.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to do that. Books.
Yeah.
What if you read a book and there's one idea in that book, 200-page book, when there's one idea that takes 2 pages or 3 pages, and then they elaborate on it. But the basic idea might be a paragraph. you know, and it might help a person to deal with grief or anxiety, you know, or something very overwhelming.
In many respects, Mike, that can summarize a large portion of this very show.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you and I know Arizona Tea is not a sponsor. Mike was just
No.
bringing a beverage for he and I. We don't have sponsors or revenue for this. We're not asking for that.
No, we're not.
It's just a nugget of, that's right, maybe somebody will watch and, hey, but, you know, it's the idea that we would give you a little nugget,
Right.
and that maybe you would do something good. You know, in a sense, that kind of summarizes a big portion of the fuel behind this.
Somebody in the store today was telling me they had these big black growths on the lilac that they had. I think he realized that I had a bunch. And I described it. I had never heard of it. I described it. It was called a black something or other, big growth. And I said, it sounds fungal. Looked it up. It was fungal, and there's a bunch of different things you can do with it. I think you put dilute bleach on it, but you have to get to it before it kind of takes over the plant.
Right.
It was interesting. It was just like, so sometimes the thing to do is to stop and say, how do I ask a question? Yeah. How do I ask this question? What is this? See, we just said a black growth on a lilac, a large black growth on a lilac, and it went boom, and it was like 10 hits, all the same answer. So, oh, and then you looked at the picture, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So how do I ask the question? How do I ask it in a clear and succinct way?
Sure.
You know, because computers do not have a sense of humor. They just don't. A movie, same thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think one of the ones that really strikes me is this idiot savant in the movie Being There.
Okay.
It was one of Peter Sellers' last movies. And so he's this like gardener that works for this very wealthy old man. And he's very bizarre, but he's a good gardener. And anyway, the old guy dies, so the maid throws him out on the street. And he's wandering around, and he gets accidentally bumped into by somebody in I think a Rolls Royce. Somebody, like one of the wealthiest people in the world.
Okay.
So they put him in the Rolls Royce and they bring him to this estate that's indescribable. It's probably like 500 room
Wow.
estate. Yeah, it's mind boggling. And like the Vanderbilt house in New York, you know, just that it never ends.
Yeah.
And anyway, he becomes friends with these people. I think he has a broken leg and they fix him up. And he becomes friends with Shirley MacLaine and the old man and the family doctor. So they decide to have him stay there. And he speaks in very simplistic terms. And they think that his name is Chaunce the gardener. But they think he said Chauncey Gardner. Anyway, so he makes all these very simple statements, and people think that he's this succinct genius, but he's not. But he says things that connect, and so people start following him, and he becomes like this worldwide obsession, right? And as the movie goes on, you realize that they're kind of deluded and that he's simple. But at the very end, when you've decided that he's a simpleton and all these people are fools, the old man dies, and after the funeral, he's in this walking area, you know, and there's a little pond, and he goes walking out onto the pond, on the surface of the water, like this, and he takes his umbrella and pokes it through the water and lifts it up and pulls something out of the water. And you're like, I knew he was an idiot, but I was wrong. And the very last statement is what's on this guy's marker, his tombstone. And it says, life is a state of mind. Oh, incredible. Just because the movie is dramatic, it's funny, it's absurd. You know that you know, and then you're wrong, and you're wrong again and again and again. And then life is a state of mind. And it's like, how much subtle and profound and powerful truth is in that? What do we hold on to and what do we let go?
Right.
And that connects to this other book that we talked about once called Think on These Things by Krishnamurti. And he said, your mind always has pictures and ideas in it. Which ones do you hang on to and which ones do you let float by, like paper floating by on a river? Do you obsess about that piece of paper or that ice cream stick floating by? Can't reach it. There's nothing you can float it by, or do you simply let it float by and either relax, be at peace, or focus on what matters? But that life is a state of mind. You could re-explore that.
Yeah, that's a big thought. The wheels are just kind of turning in my head on that one.
Right. I mean, if you looked into Sufism and Christianity and metaphysics and Hinduism and Buddhism, Zen, I mean, it's deeply rooted in each of those. And in psychology and in medicine, in mechanics, and it's absolutely extraordinary. It's like a minute sentence, but that's being there. That's a wonderful movie.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
Being there.
Being there.
Okay.
Wonderful movie. Sharing an experience as enlightenment. Remember going up a mountain for a couple of mountains in the Grass Valley. So I was in my late 20s. There was a couple kids who were competitive milers, and I was like fit to run at sea level 4, 5, 6 miles. Not fast, but just steady. But these guys were like little rocket ships. And we started rushing up this hill, and I realized after about 2 minutes, it's a very steep hill, I was really out of breath. So after 2 or 3 cycles of hurry up and stop, catch your breath, and then do it again, it was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So I started pulling behind them. I just drifted back, and I started walking at half their speed. So I was like breathing like we're sitting here in a chair, right? Walking up this hill very slowly. And they got out of auditory range after 5 or 6 minutes. And after about 20 minutes, I walked past them. They rushed past me once. About 4 or 5 minutes later, I slowly walked past them, and I didn't see them again. I was the slowest walker by far. And by like 40 minutes, the first one to the top of the mountain. And I was not tired at all. It was an 1,800-foot vertical rise. And it was exhausting to go at normal speed. Absolutely exhausting. Like you would be like wasted for a week, right? And I was ready to go take a walk that day and the next day and the next. No, it wasn't sore.
Yeah.
And so by doing less, I did more.
Yeah.
How the hell is that? That's completely contradictory to what we're always told.
Right.
By the coach, get down and give me 50, right? More. Oh, then you break, and when you break, now you can do nothing. Right? So I did less, and these miles, I left my water on the trail. I think I had 2 or 3 canteens, and I left all but 1 canteen for them because I was worried about them. I thought they were so stupid and so proud the way they were doing it. And I just figured it out. I didn't know much about climbing.
Right.
So, that's a kind of an enlightenment, when you slow down so you don't, if you break, you can't do anything.
Right.
An old gift. Talk about little things. I have an old bow tie that would belong to my grandfather. He was like one of the kindest and funniest and smartest people I've ever known. And he was my grandfather. But it's like he was remarkable. There was like a light in the guy. He would sit down in the quiet corner of a room where there was a family gathering, and all these people that didn't know him would gather around him. He had light in him, you know. So I have this little memory of him. He passed like 40 years ago. He was in his, I think he was 93. Yeah. He would have lived much longer, but he smoked.
Yeah.
You know. Honoring somebody. Tell the truth about somebody. Tell people something, or tell them themselves something that they do that's good. You know.
Yeah, that's a big little thing.
Yes, it is.
I see that often, and how there's one particular person in our company that's really good at that. You know, some people you don't have to try, you just naturally, hey, thanks, great job on that. Hey, I really appreciate you doing that. I mean, it's just like in them.
Right.
Like, and watch that. I watch that from my position, and it's very appreciated. And that does a lot for that individual. I mean, it takes them from here to here. Right now. And it was nothing more than, hey, I saw you did that, or noticed you did that, thank you, great job.
Oh, it's like water and shade in the desert.
Right.
You know, it really is.
And that's so simple. When you
It
talk
is
about little
crazy
things,
simple.
it's not hard to acknowledge
Yeah.
somebody.
No, it's-
Everybody does something good.
They do. Yeah, absolutely. You know, you see how animals kind of are attracted to some people.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
Yeah.
That's a little thing, but it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
You know, because you have these sweet, innocent beings who are dependent on us.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our dogs wouldn't survive a month in the wild,
Right.
you know. A pen, like a good pen, you know, very valuable, just on a personal level. So, when we're making an inventory, we can make a crap inventory and get stuck on that. You ever see in a train yard that can switch the tracks?
Sure.
So in the train yard, you know, are you making a crap inventory? Are you switching the tracks to the crap section? Because once you start doing that, it develops some momentum.
Yeah.
And then it feels like, quote, that's all there is. But that's not true.
Right.
That's just all there is on the crap track. What are you doing? You're not back on the crap track again. That's the only track. In your head.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm getting off at the next station.
Yeah. I'm going to derail this train. It ain't go no more. So, you know, you can remind somebody, again, it's kind of like talking about faith. Well, you know, I have had deep, you can say to them something like, when I've been deeply afraid or offended or angered, right, betrayed, I wound up on the crap track.
Yeah.
And I just started making lists of everything that's wrong. And then by doing that, I compounded the injury that they caused me.
Yeah.
So I might have made, let's say a 3 out of 10 is a very significant injury. I might turn it into a 7.5.
It's really easy to do that when you get caught in your own mind too. Mike.
Right.
You know.
That's that little picture you just did there, like
Yeah.
you're in a twister.
Yeah, and it's exactly what it is, and it's, in fact, that same buddy I was talking about earlier said,
Okay.
great job, he says, and, you know, it just spirals down from there, he'll say, you know, and it is funny, we've all gotten caught in that. Again, I can look in the camera, anybody listening, I guarantee you've been there at some point in your life, as have you and I, and,
Daily,
yeah, well,
absolutely, every day.
yeah, right.
For a little
and-
bit, every day. Every single day, I am on the crap track for a bit,
And I have to, when I find myself there,
right?
I even get mad at myself first off. Quit your, whining now. Knock it off, Simon. What are you talking about? And then you go back to, taking that list of little things inventory.
Right.
You know what? You woke up in a bed today. You got to eat a meal. You had a roof. You're breathing. You're able to walk. Last weekend, I was painting for 12 hours straight. I said I would tell you afterwards, and I'll tell you more, but,
okay.
I mean,
Wow.
by the end of it, I was, well, there's more to that story, but I wasn't happy the whole time. Okay? Let's just put it that way.
Right.
And in those moments, I literally was in my head saying, be thankful you're able to paint right now, that you can buy the paint, that you're able to physically stand on a ladder and go for 12 hours, that you're, and yet you start telling yourself, yeah, so, you know, I kind of told myself, knock it off. I was being the dad to me.
Right, yeah, right.
And it's, but those little things are fantastic. You know, they are fantastic, but they become so part of our everyday that we kind of lose track sometimes of how great the little things are.
Huge. So you did two things. You showed the twister.
Right.
Twister is overwhelming.
Right.
It's completely overpowering, right?
Can't get out of it.
No. So it's a very powerful and correct image. But you also said, I was being the dad to me.
Right.
Wow. That's right on.
Right.
That's absolutely like, you know, like a Zen warrior hitting the back of an arrow.
Right.
Hitting the bullseye in the bullseye.
Because it's easy to go down that road, Mike.
It is.
We've been there.
Yeah, of course.
But I love the title of this show because it's such a cliche statement. It's the little things.
Oh, absolutely.
When you leave it at just the title.
Right.
But when
It's
you
like
dig in,
it's like a bad card.
right, but when you dig into really what the little things are, like, what more do we need but the little things?
Right, yeah, they're treasures.
It's everything.
They're not little things,
Right.
right?
It's
Right.
everything.
How many years have you had this microphone,
Right.
right? Is it a little thing? Yeah, no,
Right.
right,
This doesn't exist without it.
right. Now, here's my ritual.
And that's a wrap. The little things. Enjoy the little things. Thank you, Mike. Thank you
you.
for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you.